Good evening. My name is Tracy Guilford. It is Thursday, November 29th, and a little after 7, about 7:06. This is the Groveland Cable TV Advisory Board meeting. I'm going to ask the other members to introduce themselves, just so the audience knows. Like I said, my name is Tracy Guilford, the chairperson currently. Carl, do you want to?
Hi, I'm Carl Judson.
Am I on the committee?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
you just introduce yourself as
Chris
the
LaCorey, Groveland TV.
Ed Watson.
And Rob Cabo.
All right. First thing on our agenda is to talk about live streaming of the meetings. We received a request from the Board of Selectmen through Denise, the finance director, that they would like to have the meetings live streamed. We have a proposal from Earth Channel, and it's going to cost roughly $5,000.
Yeah, I have just one, not to interrupt, but
Okay,
I got
sure.
a additional, one slight change to that proposal today. It doesn't change it by a lot. But
Which,
the Earth Channel one, we were discussing that I was discussing that with Cliff and I think whoever prepared that, and just figuring out exactly what we would need to add. Basically, the numbers don't change at all, but I got an updated proposal, and I forgot to email that to you today.
well, is it still 5,000?
Yeah, it's
A year?
in that ballpark. Yeah, exactly.
No,
It
I
might
don't
be,
want ballpark. I was told 5,000 a year. So is it 5,000?
I think it's
or is it-
5,200 now. Is what
Okay.
they updated it to.
Then without the actual paperwork, then I will postpone actually voting on it until I actually.
Okay.
I one of the things I want to make clear, I don't want to present something to board members and then change it at the last minute, whether up or down.
Okay.
So if you could email that so that we could all
Sure.
see that.
They had told me also that their new product on I think it's the HD version of whatever they offer is coming out in January. So
Okay.
that's why we were trying to figure out whether it made sense to put in multiple SD encoders or multiple HD encoders, and so that they haven't released what their new update is going to be yet.
Okay.
So I wanted to make sure we didn't also just buy something before I was able to look at both.
Okay, Rob, can I ask you a question? Are
Sure.
you familiar with Earth Channel?
Not at all.
And do you do any live streaming?
Yes,
where
we
you
do. We use Telview. The Telview
Telview.
system is our playback system. It's very
Okay.
robust, and yeah, it allows us to even host it on the website. So
are? Okay.
yeah, do Cloudcast.
You read over this packet. How do they compare?
I have not actually
Oh,
seen
you
this
haven't read it.
packet. Yeah. This
Right.
is all new to me. This is my first time here. So
Okay. Then one of the things I had wanted to ask the committee members, whether, again, the selectmen had expressed concern about our contract. So I would like to suggest that, and I know that's a couple agenda items coming up, that we meet next week also, next Thursday, which would give Chris
Yeah, I'd
the
be able to
time to
have
get
that.
us the updated quote on the live streaming, and also give everyone an opportunity to read through the contract.
we can do some research on these.
So as far as the live streaming, that's right, could I have somebody make a motion to table this until our next meeting?
I move to motion this to the next meeting.
I'll second it.
All in favor of,
Do I
Post-
vote or do I?
you're like an advisory
Liaison.
role. Liaison.
Yeah.
All right. So, all in favor of postponing?
Yep.
All right.
All right, so unanimous.
Okay.
All right. Next agenda item. One of the things Chris had reported to me was that our carousels, our bulletin boards
Ancient.
are
Yeah, I
ancient.
know the carousel, yeah. It's probably the one I used about 11 years ago, I bet.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
there is no longer product support for that. So he got a quote to replace both the bulletin board for Channel 9 and Channel 22. The projected cost, including tax, is $10,787.
Was there tax on there? There shouldn't be.
Shouldn't be.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just the final line it says including tax. I'm sorry.
Okay.
There is
Tax
no
exempt.
sales
Yeah,
tax.
T,
Tax
tax
exempt.
exempt, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so is tax exempt, I'm corrected. But the total cost, $10,787. So, like to open it up to discussion. Anyone have questions for Chris?
Do we have the funds currently in our,
Yes, we
Okay,
do have
excellent.
the funds.
okay. That's always a good first question.
Yeah, very important. Yeah. Kyle, do you have any questions?
No, not at this
regarding
point.
that? Chris, would you like to, just for the audience at home, explain about the bulletin board?
Sure. So we have two bulletin boards, which is sort of the default input when we're not airing programming or live meetings. It's a system that the whole town uses to get announcements out. The library uses it. The police use it. I think Denise posts certain things, relevant to the town. So it's what's nice about it is there's multiple users that can be set up throughout to post things that are relevant to them, and then that all gets aggregated. And it's worked pretty well for us. We've had them on air since I believe 2011 or 2012. I had a couple issues over the years, but we're running operating systems that aren't supported anymore. The hardware isn't supported. The product's been long discontinued, so getting any replacement parts is impossible. So getting something that's both supported, still made, a little bit modernized. It's outlived its 5-year lifespan by a couple years now. So.
So that would cover all your nonprofit organizations?
Yep.
So it's community information, yeah.
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 Yep,
Exactly. Weather.
yep.
Okay.
What's the time frame that if we go for it? How long before it can be installed?
I don't have an exact date back from HB yet. I can find that out. It just depends on what their time frame is, but I wouldn't imagine it's longer than a month or so.
Yeah.
How old is the system that you get in there now?
I believe it's 2011 or 2012.
And they don't last.
Basically, everything with electronics now is you're talking about 5 years,
Yeah.
5-6
Yeah,
years.
it's a good swing. What happens is they develop it on one platform with one operating system. And then as time goes by, say 5, 6, 7 years goes by, one, maybe two operating systems have come since then.
Yeah, and they do software updates,
Right.
but we're at the point where
Yeah.
it's just not supported
Yeah.
anymore. So.
Your infrastructure isn't necessarily based off of hardware and real world things. It's more based off of software and cloud-based technologies now. And if you're not up to speed on that, you're going to be steps behind or not have anything working at all. So
Yeah.
that's the tough thing about today's technologies.
Is this part of the reason that a system goes down as often as it does?
It's got something to do with it, I think. I did speak with Comcast this week. They told me they pulled out a redundant demodulator in their head end that they, quote, and I'm quoting, thought they had removed months ago. That was causing us some problems. So,
Chris, which head end did we come out of? South
I
Lawrence
believe
or-
there's one in Groveland.
There's a head end in Groveland.
That's what, that, yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There's not.
I don't know where it is. I
South
exactly. I
Lawrence.
don't have access to it. I
No one
call them
does.
when we have a problem, and they
Yep.
look at things and reset stuff. And they've been doing that a lot the last, month or two. But
Interesting.
Yeah.
More than a month or two.
yeah,
All right, well, I think we should vote to replace it because I would rather replace it before the unit goes down and then we have blank channels.
Yeah, that'd be bad.
So,
yeah.
would somebody like to make a motion?
I move to approve the purchase of the tightrope carousel. It's not carousel, it's bulletin board system.
Yeah,
they call it
tightrope
anymore?
carousel,
It's
yeah.
still called carousel?
Yeah, I believe so.
All right, I move to purchase the tightrope carousel system to replace the existing unit so we can continue having messages on the community bulletin board system.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Yes.
One of the things that I'd like to discuss as part of this equipment thing, if we could maybe appoint a subcommittee of Chris and Rob to
All right.
identify equipment and identify a timeline when, I wanna kinda like go to what the capital improvement committee has done. I would like to develop a list of when equipment was installed,
Okay,
what's its expected lifespan, with the goal of replacing equipment before it fails.
like a full-blown system audit.
Right.
You got it.
And just say, you know, this year we suggest we replace this, rather than, you know, having stuff go down and have to replace it.
Right.
then.
Right. So
That's
I've
the worst
actually
time.
I've got a list. It's not
Yeah, well,
totally
like I
dated,
say,
but
I
I've
would
got
rather
something
have
I
you
can give
two,
you.
All right, cool.
since you
Excellent.
two are
Sure.
the technical experts, you know, work together
Start
Alright.
with this.
Thank
and
you,
we
Chris,
can
thank
work
you.
on that.
at your
Together.
leisure,
Okay.
and then report back to the full board as to what is
Sure.
next
Yeah.
to be replaced.
Are you also looking for like the microphones?
Yep, that'll be.
Yeah,
be
I have quotes
microphones.
on that as well.
Right.
Uh,
But one of the things, as far as the microphones are concerned, that issue gets a little more complicated. And Rob, I want you to
Sure.
to look at this issue.
Mhm.
Is, you know, I gotta say, the last selectmen meeting that I heard, you know, the volume, everything was fine from my television. So, you know, I think Chris in HB fixed the issue. But one of the other things is, we have been requested, you know, look at new microphones.
Mhm.
I wanna make you aware, we did rent a system for lavalier mics.
You're right.
Cause currently they were using microphones, desk-mounted mics.
Right.
Yeah.
And
We have a wireless Shure MXW system currently.
Okay.
But I want to let you know, we've gone through phases with, we had wired mics, which I thought worked the best. But
Yeah,
people
more reliable. So.
were concerned about tripping hazards.
Right.
So we had gone to ceiling mounted mics, which are still in this room, because this used to be the
Oh
board
yeah,
of
the coral
selectmen.
mics. They're up kind of high.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
that's-
because
they never
we don't
worked well.
use it
Right.
anymore. But
Right.
when it
Oh,
was
all right.
used, they were a little lower.
Okay.
But then people didn't like the looks of the mics hanging from the ceiling.
Okay.
And they, well,
Well, it's
again,
funny you mention that because I run the same issue in my line of work, and people are like, "Well, that mic looks ugly."
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so you go with one that looks nice, and like, "Well, that mic's quiet." It's like, so do you want to deal with the ugly mic,
that
or do you
works.
want to deal with the one that functions?
Yeah.
You have, you know, there's got to be a little give somewhere where it's like you either deal with the ugly obtrusive mic
Yeah.
or the one that's like slim and low profile and doesn't quite have the same pickup pattern. Or when people start talking like this and the microphone's here,
Exactly.
Right.
That's
It
the
doesn't
problem.
help.
That's the problem we
Yeah.
currently have,
Right.
where because they're mobile, a
Right.
lot of times they will get placed so far in
Right.
front that they're not.
right? A lot of those
functioning
goosenecks
as
are
intended.
directional, and where they point is all they pick up, and they might not have a big pickup pattern.
People will turn entirely
have
or
conversations
entirely,
with the
and
next
that
door
doesn't
person,
tend to
and then
work
it won't
well.
pick up.
So,
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you run into an issue where you might have like a pressure zone mic, which is something you could put in the middle of a table, but if you have
boundaries.
someone that does this,
Yeah.
that's going to be tearing through your ears at like decibel, 110 versus like when someone's talking back here because their hand is that much closer to the mic.
And we get that with ruffling
People-
the papers.
Right.
That
People
Right.
ruffling
Complaints.
through
What,
the-
what,
Yeah. Like that.
what's your experience with going back to the old wired mics? Those seem to work better than,
I stand by wired mics.
than the wireless.
It's interesting though. Again, the more expensive and robust wireless mic systems, it's a greater cost. So you get what you pay for. But at the same time, there's a lot of disposables, batteries and whatnot. And if there's something that goes wrong, it's an expensive mic to replace. Whereas a wired mic, you have that wire there, that might be a $30 mic cable. And if that breaks, you just swap it out for another $30 mic cable versus replacing a whole like wireless system or part of a wireless system, be it a receiver or a transmitter or anything, because something went wrong. You also burn through batteries like nobody's business with wireless mics. So you're constantly got a budget for batteries.
One of the things I looked at as a potential replacement to the system that we have now is a Shure MXW or something. I got to look at the exact name. Basically, body transmitter, lapel mics.
Yep.
Very similar to what we have with, not similar to what we have, but similar in power consumption. They have
Right.
rechargeable USB ports. You put them on
good.
chargers. That element of our system has been really good, I think.
Okay, good.
And that would save replacing batteries every week, every night, whatever,
exactly.
whatever it may be. And it would keep it wireless. When we put in the current system, I was told it had to be wireless. I wasn't given the choice of, using wired. But
Where did you get that from?
Joe Demore at the time told me he wanted wired less. So
Well, again, different boards.
that's what we did.
Want different things.
Right.
My understanding is that if we were to go wired, obviously I have no objection to that, but it would need to be ripped out of the room every time they want to do stuff because they do a lot of things in that.
Right, and that's the problem.
Is-
is
Space,
voting
so-
in there.
Well,
the
is
other
there a
thing-
way to run, say, a mic snake
Mm-hmm.
up
Yeah.
through either drop ceiling or along like a baseboard
Yeah.
and do it behind where
Yeah.
the selectmen sit? Or it's like
Well,
select
that's
board sit.
where it was originally. It was
Yeah.
mounted to the
Yeah.
wall behind them. So
Right.
yes, they had to watch it walking behind.
Right.
There was no tripping hazard.
But there's still a safe way to lay
Yeah.
down cables. I mean,
Right.
there's an easy way to do cable management without having any sort of tripping hazards. I mean,
The other thing that complicates the meeting room in the middle, though, is the fact that we have been requested not only for the mics, but we had ceiling mounted speakers put in because a lot of times somebody at the back of the room cannot always hear somebody who's sitting at the table
right,
who has a very soft voice.
sure.
But we had that put in, but every time we turn up the volume to run the speakers, we end up with feedback.
Right, it's a dance you got to do. It's
And so I don't know whether the company that we're currently dealing with, our vendor, is up to that challenge of doing that. But then we got another request via email that the Council on Aging, who has the large screen TV in the middle meeting room, shows movies.
yep,
They wanted to know if it was possible that the soundtrack for the TV
Sure.
could be run through the speakers. Now, I
Okay.
don't know, sometimes if you task something with doing too much, it's not good for any one thing because you're doing too many different things with it.
I think that if we're gonna do a system audit of everything in town, I say we just go everything with a fine tooth comb and see what
Okay.
has a line input versus a mic input, what has the capability of carrying multiple devices versus singular devices or just a single snake to.
Okay?
Yeah, I
But
think
one
we
of
just
the
have a good
things-
look.
I would like to first task you and Chris with working on
Yep.
would be the mics and the sound system for the middle meeting room.
Yep.
Is our top priority since,
Okay.
I rely on you two as being the experts. I mean, the companies out there, the vendors will always try to sell you the most expensive thing sometimes. And
Right.
sometimes that can be a good thing.
Right.
And sometimes it's not always the best thing.
Right.
Not to interrupt, but
Yeah,
my
go ahead.
recent discussions with HB on this, they took a look at advancements in DSP technology since we put this in, and they also explained that when they put that in, because I've told them multiple times, hey, this PA system was crappy. It didn't work well for us. We're unhappy with how that aspect of it has performed. And, they were like, well, we were trying to keep it under, a competitive bid. And we could probably, put in better technology on the audio side that would, what they expressed to me was we have more than enough speakers in the ceiling. It's not the speakers.
Right.
It's the technology that's feeding those speakers could be much better than it is.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I want to go over with you to see
Alright.
whether you think that would make a big difference, or
Let's just see what's there first.
you know, should we just rip it all out?
Yeah.
and, try
And
something
to tell
totally
you the
different?
truth, one of the things, you know, because I am so annoyed with that system not working, before we spend the money,
Right.
I personally would like to go visit a meeting room of about the same size that has the microphone system, the PA, public address that people can hear, and if it also has some type of system that a council on aging or somebody uses, you know, I just hate buying something and being told it's gonna work and then not having it work as well as we expect.
Or throwing more money at the problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. I think the good first step is just look and see what's there.
Okay.
Let's see what's there. Let's see what we can do to make everyone happy, and let's see if we really do have to throw more money at the problem, or if it's just a matter of adjustments and tweaking things to get it to work right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if it requires moving speakers, or maybe a certain a set of speakers is too close to the mics, and that's what's feeding into the
It's
microphones.
very possible, especially
know,
with where we position certain things.
I run into it in large 700-person auditoriums versus a small meeting. Same thing. If the mic's not in the right spot and the speakers not in the right spot, there's going to be feedback. So
Right.
One of the things we did over in Merrimack, we had a large auditorium. It's a lot bigger than the middle meeting room, but that was acoustically completely unusable. Nobody even wanted to have meetings up there because it was just not designed well for that purpose.
big
But
echo box.
we spent a lot of money putting in acoustic absorption carpets and side special sound absorbing curtain drapes and stuff like that. And we have the same mic system that we have maybe a year or two newer. But once we did the acoustic background work to address the problems of the meeting room space, it's night and day. I mean, it works amazing. It sounds amazing in there. So,
Oh, great.
you know, one of the things the HB probably could have done a better job with was, you know, assessing the acoustic externalities of that room, of that space.
Right.
And it is different, you know. If there's 100 people in that room, like for candidates night, it's a different, you know, sound environment than if there's 10 people in a select meeting.
Right.
So-
But like I say, I've never.
but it should work better, a lot better than it has.
I've never had a time where I've been in there where we have been able to use the microphones and the ceiling mounted speakers effectively.
Yeah.
And that, to me, I've been in a lot bigger rooms that have functioning systems that do both.
Yeah.
So I know it can be done.
Yep.
So, I ask you a quick question, by the
Yes.
way. This just dawned on me.
Yeah.
Do we use these ceiling mounted microphone speakers in this room currently?
No,
Like,
we
for any
do not.
purposes?
No, we do not.
And if we're having an issue in middle meeting room,
Yep.
could these be removed and installed in the middle meeting room?
Yes, they
It
could.
could.
Oh, just out of
Potentially,
curiosity,
yeah.
it just might be worth even just a test. Maybe
Yeah.
we just spend an afternoon, let's hang them, test them. If they work, great. If they don't work, we know.
Okay.
And then this way they're not just sitting there all for naught up in the ceiling, you know?
Yeah, we used to use this as a meeting room. So
Right, right.
it doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense having them here now.
I mean, I'm
Right.
still new to all everything that
Right.
goes on in town, but my
I do
background
know the
isn't as-
ceiling, the drop ceiling over there, you know, was very difficult for HB to work with because of, I believe it was asbestos or something in the above.
Is it?
Maybe not asbestos. I could be wrong, but there was something that was a major problem for them.
It's probably
You know
just
what?
the
I'm the type of guy that
insulation.
just throws on a dust mask and goes to it. So if you need me to
Right.
go up in a ceiling and look around,
Okay.
I don't mind looking around. I'm not scared.
One
I've
of
done
the
it for
things-
like the last 30 years. So.
I will ask you to do, though, it's very, very important that you coordinate with Denise
Yep.
as far as the middle meeting room,
Yeah.
because
All right.
during the daytime, the Council on Aging uses that for a lot of functions.
Okay.
Yeah, even
So-
they have yoga in there, and sometimes it can be a pain
So,
if I'm
and
Right.
troubleshooting
that's
stuff.
our main meeting room for it to be televised for
Right.
television. So whether you work days or nights, no problem, as far long as you coordinate with Denise so she knows she can write down, so she doesn't book a group
Yeah.
for using that at the same time you
Sure.
wanted to, you can book out time.
Right. I'm also the type of person that does not leave the building torn down before I build it back up
Right.
again to where it was. You know,
Okay.
that's not how I work. I work very meticulously and very cleanly. So
So can I have a motion to appoint Chris and Rob as a subcommittee to look at the middle meeting room speakers?
I'll make that motion.
All right.
Second.
And then we report back to the committee as
Take a
to,
vote.
we're gonna look.
yeah, oh, all in favor?
That's
Chris,
Opposed?
Yeah.
any idea what they're using at the Whittier Voltech? That seems like that has come in a heck of a lot better than it did a while back. That,
They still have a bad, I was just watching that
go
tonight.
ahead.
They have a background, a very echoey sound in the background at Whittier.
I'll look into that. I don't know what they're using off the top of my head.
Yeah, maybe
But I
we'll-
could
But
ask
it is
Rich.
very clear though. It's,
Yeah, it
It is
seems to
very
me
clear.
that in the last, they must have done something in the last year plus, because it's a heck of a lot better than it used to be.
Yeah, well, the contact person over there is gonna be Richard
Porcelli,
Porcelli.
yeah, he sends me to meetings, so
Okay.
yeah, I'll reach out through email.
really.
Yeah, do you
Mr.
know?
Porcelli,
Yeah.
he used to run the North Reading cable access years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know his
if it's the
father.
same,
yeah,
yeah.
the
Yeah.
teacher.
Louis.
If it's the
Louis.
same guy, then yeah, then that's an awful lot. It's the same name. If it's the same guy, even cooler. All right, cool.
Great.
Nice. All right, so that passed. Next on our
Cool.
thing is cable contract renewal process.
All right.
Now, everyone, I know I gave you a printed copy.
Mhm.
The other people have printed copies. For the people
Is this for
looking.
me, or
Huh?
is this one for me? or-
No,
Do I need
I
one?
don't have, what's that?
Yeah, you
Oh,
can have
that's,
it. Yeah.
that's the,
Yeah.
oh, wait a minute. That
This is
might
the
be
last
my
contract.
copy.
Gotcha.
For the letter from Comcast, yeah. All right.
So this is
So for the people at home, the Comcast current contract, which we're operating under, that expires next November 2019, is available on the town website by going to the town Cable TV Advisory Board and then click on cable contract. One of the things, I won't spend a lot of time tonight on the contract.
yep.
I would expect everyone to have an opportunity to take it home, read it, before our next meeting. One of the things I want to discuss, Rob was nice enough to make up this renewal process,
Oh, wow.
which has, if you want, I'll make a
Get your
copy.
Sure, yeah, that'd be great.
Oh, wait a minute, can you, Ed, can you make a copy of this for Chris, please?
I'll try.
Thank you.
Thank you. But it breaks down over the next few months what we need to do in order to get this done by next November.
All right.
And I wanna thank you for doing that.
Sure.
I
Sure.
really
Yeah, that's a big
appreciate
help.
that.
That I don't really have a lot of expertise in going through this process because it's the first time we've done it since I've been here. So
No worries. No worries. I'll do my best to
we
help you
did,
guys
we
along
did
the
do
way.
a little bit of it in Merrimack, but that sort of ran itself. So
Right.
I just have a
Yeah, I've
couple
reviewed
of
that
comments.
contract as well. So I have a series of these contracts at my at home
Okay.
on my desktop TV because this is, you know, when it comes to cable TV, we're all in the same boat. We're all in this together. So if one town gets 5% as opposed to what do we get? 3.75%.
3.75,
And
three
if
point seven five.
and if someone gets say $100,000 in capital and the next guy gets $300,000 in capital, we're all trying to level the playing field. So we're all getting at least something in common. One of the common denominators is 5% of the franchise fees. It's an abstract number to a lot of folks, but what it winds up being is that's your operations. That's what keeps your day-to-days going. And the other aspect is if Comcast is willing to give out capital to each community based on population and number of subscribers and yada yada, we should try to get the most we can because the capital is where we do a lot of these big improvements.
Right.
Right, but one of my concerns is by asking too much they also, there is no free
Right.
lunch. They pass it on to those people and for the-
Correct.
you know, I am a Comcast subscriber.
Yep.
And have my cable through that. So when you ask for too much, they will give you a certain amount, but over a certain amount, they're gonna say, hey, we're gonna pass it through
Right.
to the subscribers.
Well,
So I just wanna be cautious in that regard.
and I understand your caution because, you know, that is a real thing. You don't want to make people in town upset because you're going to raise cable fees. The fact is, though, when it comes, depending on your population and number of subscribers, this is monthly through the year over 10 years. So that payout and that change might only be a matter of like 25 cents, 35 cents a month. If you're willing to give up 35 cents, I mean, you could find that in the parking lot of Market Basket. 35 cents is sitting on the ground. So if you worry about 35 cents a month, but in the long run, you have more money coming back to the community, that's kind of a win. If no one really minds paying an extra 35 or 50 cents per head. You know, it's all by volume. You have to think of it like that. It's like, sure, there's a big number. And you're like, oh my God, 150 grand versus 100 grand. But that might, over 10 years, be just 50 cents a month.
Yeah. Tracy, since you were here before I was, what do you remember what we got for capital? Did we get anything for capital?
Yes, we did get capital. In fact, that's in the contract.
Okay, I don't
I
have
think it was
that.
$100,000
I think
at
I read
75
100,000
and 12.
somewhere.
First year was 75,000, then it was 12.5,
I'll have to,
and then another 12.5.
Ed, you know, would you do me a favor and check with the finance director, you know, to see that we did in fact get those during those years?
I will do that.
Do you guys get an email from someone at Comcast to give you the breakdown of what they've taken each quarter and how much comes back to the community?
Haven't got the answer to that.
Okay.
Find out.
Would that be something Denise would know?
Denise,
Okay, I
Yeah,
guess
she
I'll
would
find
probably
Alright.
get that email.
she reports
All
to
right.
the selectmen what we get.
Okay, cool.
Okay,
Just a couple of things on the contract. Reading it over, it doesn't look like it's an exclusive license to Comcast.
No.
Anybody can come in, and reading it, it seems like if you get a better deal with another cable company, that Comcast has a right to match that for their customers. I think I read something about
Yeah, it is. It's
Right.
called competitive disadvantage.
yeah.
Yep.
And also, the way this wording is here, section 2.4A, page 12. In accordance with the provisions of the federal law MGL 166A, subsection 13, and applicable regulations, this renewal license shall be subject to additional renewals for periods not to exceed 10 years, or such other periods as allowed by law. So that, the way I'm reading that is that it doesn't have to be a 10-year contract.
Correct.
We could go with a less of a period of time.
Right.
Not